We all think we know the heart, right? It's that tireless pump inside our chest. But what if I told you this incredible muscle holds some secrets that sound like they're straight out of science fiction? Let's kick things off with a wild question.
Really think about that for a second. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? The heart is wired into everything, especially our brain. So how on earth could it possibly work all by itself, completely disconnected from the body?
Well, the answer, and this is pretty mind-blowing, is yes, it can. If you give it the right nutrients and oxygen, a heart can just keep on beating all by itself. And that one fact, that single idea, opens up just how unique and incredible this organ truly is. So, that leads us to our first big idea, the heart's incredible independence. See, its ability to beat isn't a command that comes down from the brain. No, it's actually a built-in feature of the heart muscle itself.
This property actually has a name: cardiac autonomy. Basically, the heart has its very own internal electrical system, a natural pacemaker, that kicks off every single beat. The brain doesn't need to tell it to go, it just goes. But, that brings up another question, doesn't it? Because after all, just twitching isn't enough. To actually pump blood through your entire body, that squeeze has to be powerful, it has to be coordinated, and it has to be perfectly timed. So how does an independent muscle pull off that level of sophistication?
And that brings us to the idea of the heart as a coordinated pump. It's not just about flexing, it's about flexing in exactly the right sequence to create that powerful one-way flow of blood. You can almost think of it like a perfectly choreographed dance. Now here's where it gets really cool. The secret isn't about speed, it's about a delay. A tiny split-second pause is what turns a simple muscle twitch into the powerful, life-sustaining beat we all depend on. So here's how it works. First, the top chambers, the atria, they squeeze, pushing blood down into the main pumping chambers, the ventricles. Then, and this is the absolute key, there's that tiny pause. That delay gives the ventricles just enough time to fill up completely before they give that big, powerful squeeze, sending blood out to the lungs and the rest of the body. It's this beautiful, efficient two-step process. Okay, so if the heart starts its own beat and coordinates its own rhythm, you've got to be asking, well, what about the brain? Is it just sitting on the sidelines? Not quite. The brain isn't the power source, but it is the control center. Think of it this way. It can't turn the engine on or off, but it can absolutely tell the heart to speed up or slow down, fine-tuning the rhythm to match whatever the body needs at that moment. And this is where we see two main systems at play. Think of the sympathetic nervous system as the gas pedal. It revs up your heart rate when you're exercising or maybe when you get a scare. And the parasympathetic system? That's the brake. It slows everything down when you're resting. They're in this constant push and pull to keep your heart's rhythm just right for any situation. But there are other factors too. Hormones like adrenaline can flood your system, basically putting the heart into overdrive. And the master control for all of this? It's a tiny spot in your brainstem called the cardiovascular center. It's constantly getting signals from all over the body and making the final call on just how fast that heart needs to be beating. So, what we have is this independent, coordinated, highly regulated machine. But all that work, man, it takes a ton of fuel. The heart is busy pumping oxygen-rich blood to every other part of the body, which creates a bit of a paradox, right? How does the heart muscle itself get the fuel it needs to keep up that incredible pace? This line from our source material really gets to the heart of the matter. The heart is the ultimate giver, but it can't forget to take care of itself. It has to have its own dedicated, private supply line. And that supply line is the coronary arteries. Now, these aren't the huge blood vessels leaving the heart. They're a delicate network of arteries that wrap around the surface of the heart, almost like a crown. Their one and only job is to feed the heart muscle itself, and they're absolutely 100% vital. And this brings us to what is maybe the most critical part of this whole story. We've seen how the heart is this amazing, self-running, coordinated machine. But it has one single critical vulnerability: its own fuel line. So what happens when that fuel supply gets cut off? The consequences are immediate and they are severe. When one of those coronary arteries gets blocked, the part of the heart muscle it was feeding gets starved of oxygen. That is a myocardial infarction. It's the clinical term for a heart attack. And it's not some mysterious event, it's a plumbing problem. It's a clogged fuel line causing the engine to fail. The outcome is pretty stark. Where there was once living,
beating muscle. A heart attack leaves behind dead tissue. Now, if a person survives, the body patches that area up with a scar. But here's the thing. Unlike muscle, scar tissue can't contract. It can't pump. So that scar permanently weakens the heart, potentially reducing its ability to pump efficiently for the rest of that person's life.
So there you have it. The heart is this marvel of biological engineering. It starts itself. It coordinates itself. But all of its tireless work depends completely on keeping those tiny, fragile coronary arteries clear and open. And that leaves us with one final and pretty personal thought. We've just walked through how incredible and yet how vulnerable this engine inside us really is. So knowing that one simple blockage can have such devastating consequences, the question is, how are you taking care of your heart's fuel line?